What is good, everybody? Welcome to the transparency. Welcome. I want to point out some things. Welcome, mods. Just middle of the day, little live. Right. So I want to point something out. What is good, Octavia? Baby girl? Baby girl? Let's see. Share screen. All right. I'm going to be sharing a couple different screens. It's going to be great once I have this projector up with the old school projectors, like, the overheads. Can't wait. I was totally moved by the Murdaugh trial that I was like, you know what? I just want to go ahead and have a big projector that I can just put my documents under, and they're nice and big and all that good stuff. So, best chat on YouTube, you know it. We're working on that award this year, so make sure you vote for us. All right, check it out. Dakota Sparks leaves for work at 11:45 in the morning, not seeing or hearing anything. And that was per a Fox report. 11:58 is when, the 911 call comes in. So I want to point out that she also went to bed at 2:30. I don't know, Mary, how it's always blurry for you. Truly don't know, Mary. But what I can do is I can make it bigger for you. I'm going to scroll up right there. All right. All right. 2 a.m. Neighbor Dakota. He and his, I think I should say her, but they go to bed and they hasn't heard anything at all or seen anyone. It was labeled as like, a party area. So at 2 a.m. doesn't hear anything, doesn't see anything. Now, I find it hard to believe, when you get home from places and you're getting out of like a cab or an Uber or whatever, and especially like how Maddie was being loud over there at the food truck, banging on shit, whatever. So when you're getting out of your car and you're like, thanking somebody or whatever, making noise, I don't know how close they were. I don't know if, you get out of a car and you act like me and my roommates in college, we would be loud and just like, woohoo or something like that. So, but they say they don't hear anything at 2. That'd be the time that everybody was coming home, kind of allegedly 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning. Nobody hears anything. They don't hear anything. Nobody hears anything when she leaves for work at 11:45 in the morning. So when did people start coming over there, standing outside, it being like a frantic situation? I get it that 911 was called at 11:58, but what was going on between 11:45 and 11:58? Or does she just not remember, that it wasn't that, like, it wasn't overbearing of whatever was going on did not disrupt her, if that makes sense. So, wanted to point that out. Betty says, Lana, important. I found Claire K. Well, thank you there. Way to go, Betty. 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 Mary says, sorry, Atlanta. Y'all just totally changed my life. LOL, it's like when I learned you could change the speed. we try to change your life. So check this out. Let's just play like I don't want to say like devil's advocate, but you have Maddie and Kaylee's phone that you're gonna have in the courtroom. And I'm gonna scroll down just a tad. And all of a sudden you have all this activity on their phone. 226, like it was just like shotgunning, okay? And then 244, 244, 252, 252. Now, originally they had said time of death of all victims between 3 and 4 a.m. There's that site. Now, in the Alec Murdaugh murders, there was so much weighing on the phones, okay, to the fact that they said that their phones never opened again, that they never used their phones again. They were like legit shotgunning messages or calling, okay, because I'm sure we don't have that information, but when you're calling somebody like that, you know damn well you're texting them as well, okay? Hey, pick up the phone. What are you doing? Like, hey, I need to talk to you. That type of talk, okay? And then this all of a sudden just stops. All right. So why would one not believe, all right, that that's because they stopped calling because they were no longer alive? So think about it. Ethan and Xana, allegedly, we don't even know, has not come out on who ordered that DoorDash. Okay. In fact, the cops kept it from us. Nobody even knew about this DoorDash. That was something that they kept totally to their chest. They never talked about it until we hear about it in the PCA. Okay. Why why would it not be feasible to think that if at 244 at 255, let's say their phones, they never touched their phones again and their phones never moved. Wouldn't you make a good argument that it's because they weren't alive anymore? But now it was somebody that's a surviving roommate to say that everybody was home by 2 and everybody was in their rooms by 4. How do you know that? How do you know that unless you're the last person in that area to say that? Which if Bethany's all the way downstairs, how does she know what everybody's doing upstairs on the 2 different levels? You wouldn't. Again, so my argument here is that you have so much activity with these phones beginning at 2:26 a.m. to 2:52 a.m. With Maddie and Kaylee both calling, and I do believe that there's going to be text messages. If it comes back that their phones stopped being used, at 2:52 and never were used. If you're looking at the Murdaugh murders, Maggie and Paul's phone never got used again after, their phones locked, Maggie's phone locked and wasn't used again. So that's what they're going for. They're saying it's because she she was dead at like right after that time versus she wasn't killed at like let's say 9:30. Her phone locked at 8:49 p.m. And because her phone locked and was never used again, that's why they're ballparking her and Paul to be murdered between and right around at that time because their phones were never used. They didn't make any commands. So if Kaylee and Maddie's phones never made any more commands after 2:52 a.m. Remember originally, like these murders happened between 3 and 4 a.m. Why did they originally think that? If you don't get a phone call, okay, until um, noon the next day of 911 and everybody's dead, you have from noon until the last time they would have been seen alive of when this would have happened or when it could have happened. So they clearly felt that putting this at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay, why did they ever even say 3 to 4? Why were they saying 3? There would be a reason that you're saying that. I think that's a good possibility there, DAF 3704. I don't think that they were just chilling in the room together. Yeah. But why would you be thinking that something could have taken place at 3? Why are you putting that range of 3? And I'm going to tell you why I think. Because something in your investigation pointed to that. Think about it. If you're interviewing Bethany and Dylan and they give you the statements that everybody was home by 2 and in their rooms by 4, then why would you ever think that the murders happened at 3? If everybody's home by 2 and everybody's in their rooms by 4. When did those statements really come out, that the interview of where, okay, yeah, everybody was home by 2 and in their rooms by 4? Okay. You would never be thinking that anybody was murdered at 3 by talking to the surviving roommates if they in fact said 2 and 4. Okay. So again, this has nothing to do with I'm saying you arrive on scene, you have 4 dead people. The 911 call came in at 11:58. So you have from 11:58 in the morning until all the way back it up, and you actually want to go based on when you can physically basically see these people, in my opinion, because anybody can use anybody's phone, whatever. But 3 and 4 a.m. 3 and 4 a.m. Based off of the phone data, if it comes out in court that Maddie and Kaylee's phones were never used again after 2:52, wouldn't you think that a plausible reason for that is because they were dead? Just because somebody ordered a DoorDash, if her DoorDash was ordered at 2:45, think about this. Just because your DoorDash comes at 4 o'clock in the morning and is sent to you, it doesn't mean that you're alive when your DoorDash would have been sent. It doesn't mean that just because your DoorDash arrives at your home at 4 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean that you are alive. Especially so if you place that order, if that order for DoorDash, allegedly people want to say that this could have happened at 2:45, 3, that the order of the DoorDash happened because it takes time for them to, you know, usually depends on if it's a busy night with DoorDash, where you're ordering from, things like that. So the point of this is because if you guys want to believe that Alec Murdoch touched other people's phones and did things, and that jury thought that, and that jury thought that the time of death was because those people never used their phones again and their phones locked up. And it wasn't until he allegedly came back and touched his leg and pulled his leg or whatever that the phone came out of the pocket, and that's what made it move. And according to the jury, they didn't believe it. They didn't believe him. So I want to know that if you're there during the act of the commission of this crime, how does somebody take the stand and how does the jury believe that this person's telling the truth? For example, Bethany and Dylan are going to have to take the stand and state that they were there during this and they didn't hear anything, see anything. Well, Dylan's going to be testifying to what, allegedly she saw and stuff like that. But you don't call 911. I mean, like, think about the jury in the sense of like, they didn't believe it. So what's going to make it believable for you to be in a home where 4 people were murdered, stabbings, and people, especially if some of them were not sleeping when it occurred? I want to know why the police would gauge this and push it out that this could have happened between 3 and 4, because I think it's because of the phone calls. The phone calls stopped at 2:52. Their phones were never used again. And that's what Kaylee's sister says. There was no more outgoing anything from Kaylee's phone after 2:52. So, I'm very curious to see Xana's phone, because I want to go back to why were the cops so interested, or at least making it seem like they were so interested, which they did that with the white Elantra when they already had it. We want to know what happened between 9 and 1:45. We believed them to be there. We determined, and then they go back and believed and determined. This is the cops' own wording, that they between 3 and 4. Remember, there's no blood coming out of that house. There's no blood coming out of that house. Why did somebody ask if there was a hostage situation in this case? Back on the first one of the first pressers. Was this a hostage situation? Why would somebody ask that? Hey, JJ, baby girl. Why would somebody ask that? Why would that, like, a hostage situation? Where's that come from? Um, Again, it's back in one of my videos. I showed that the one of the ladies steps up and says, "Was this believed? Was this a hostage situation?" And I'm like, "What?" No, they're not talking about that. They actually say it in the presser of this case and it was asked way before Brent was ever killed. This was like right out the rip. Was this a hostage situation? So, and they only did their TV pressers from November 16th until November. They did one on November 16th, November 20th, and November 23rd. They did 3 video pressers. And one of the ladies asks, "Was this a hostage situation?" And I'm like, "What?" But I want to know why she asked that. What did she hear to ask that question? For example, if Kaylee's sister talks about the fact that they took the dog out when they had gotten home, which you would think would be normal because you're going to let your dog out, right? Um, so you, how did you know? How did anybody know that they let the dog out? Okay. How did Kaylee's sister know that? Now, anybody out there that's going to say, "Oh, because the roommates told her," no, 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 no. That family has not talked to any of the surviving roommates, so that's out the window. So how, when they got home, how would she know that? To me, there's only 2 possible ways. Um, A, she took some type of Snapchat, okay, and it was uploaded of them, like, physically doing that, some type of video that would show that. Um, or in her outgoing messages, to Jack or whatever, "Hey, I'm gonna let, Murphy, or I'm gonna let Murphy out. Do you want me to leave the door open so you can, like, you know, are you coming over?" Something like that. Um, or your last option is if there was actual video that they were caught on some type of Ring camera. Um, I do not know if the Jeep has been released yet, by the way. I saw that. So I go back to, like, this whole timeline of why the cops would ever have thought to say that these acts happened between 3 and 4. Um, and I mind you, if you think that the cops um, are talking to Mabit is her name, by the way, Mabut, um, they weren't communicating with her at all. I feel bad for her. Um, thank you, Witchy Way. There you go. Thank you. Again, we're talking about like time of crime. So when you say like the time of death, I don't know. They're gonna have to be testifying to if anybody like bled out or if what wound was the fatal wound. I mean, um, it's still an option for me that these murders could have happened staggered. And I'll tell you what I mean. What I mean is, who's giving us the info that Ethan and Xana were home at 1:45? Where's that info coming from? You would think that if they have the Ring cameras and everything like that, you should have everybody coming home that night, walking in, and what time it happened. If um, if they in fact did this of entering the house through, by that front door, or was it customary that they walked around and used the slider as a front door? I mean, I don't know what their normal patterns were, but when the cops knocked on the door and all the body cams, they opened it up right away for the front door, and then just chilled on coming back. So let's see here. So if could it be possible that Kaylee and Maddie could have been killed between 2:52 and 3 a.m.? I want to know why the cops honed in and said the words from 3 to 4, and then it was changed to what was it? 4 to 4:25. Hold on, let me pull something up for you. Because of the 4 o'clock DoorDash. Okay, but that has, you can order DoorDash at 2:45 and then be killed at 3:05, and your DoorDash is still going to arrive whenever it arrives. So you can't place now. What you would need someone. This is why I kept on honing in on: did the guy or girl that came and brought the DoorDash, did they actually physically give it to somebody? Number one, or did they take a picture and say that, hey, your DoorDash is at your door? The DoorDash person is going to have to testify to that. But just because you ordered a DoorDash and it arrives at 4 does not mean that you're alive at 4. And I want to know, could these deaths have been staggered? I've always thought that is a possibility, especially once the PCA came out with then this now Dylan's a witness and the Bushy. I mean, just everything surrounding that. It's like, wow. And then it was like talking about like there's a reference on purpose to talk about that she thought she heard Kaylee playing with the dog. Because I think all the parts leading up into the time of the crimes is going to be important. The cops waited until November 25th to even update that when the girls got home. So if Ethan and Xana, in fact, their father thinks she was home watching movies at midnight with her boyfriend, to they're at a Sigma party to Bethany and Dylan are out at separate places, but yet get home at the same time at 1 a.m. But yet that they know then that, but Bethany's the one that's seen everybody at Sigma Chi. I mean, what's going on here? Um, and if you just watch the Murdaugh murder trial, they basically said, and the jury bought it, which was their phones never were used again. They're dead. Their phones were never used. So we heard it from Olivia saying that Kaylee's phone, there was nothing on Kaylee's phone after 2:52 a.m. Nothing outgoing. So she didn't use her phone again after 2:52 a.m. She seems really well with it. I saw her at the video at the truck. She's not out. If anything, yeah, like you're in that good fun, like a little tipsy phase. You're not like hammered by any means, and laughing, having a good time. She did not look tired to me. And usually when you're like waiting for someone to call you or whatever, you're doing other things. You're using other social media. So like you're on Snap or you're on Instagram or you're, Googling something. So if their phones don't do anything after 2:52 a.m., if you're the defense attorney, how are you not playing that to your favor of, well, why aren't we considering the fact that they're not doing anything is because they're deceased? Okay. So again, I don't know what movements are on their phones after 2:52, but just listening to Olivia and her wording of saying that there was nothing outgoing on her phone after 2:52. Okay. So, and now if people are out there saying, well, that there was an extraction. Well, let me actually back up one step. The reason that I'm honing in on that 2:52 and their phones never being used again is because of the PCA. This is where I double down on it. The PCA says that the reason that they're listing the time of crime between 4 and 4:25 is because of these reasons, which are Dylan's statements and Dylan and Bethany's phones being extracted and downloaded. They're not using any of the victims' phones for the time of crime. And I said to myself, well, in the Alec murder that we just watched for how many days, they're using the victims' phones for when this happened. So here to see that the combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect video as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25. Why wouldn't the victims' phones be part of this time of crime? Why would only the words of Dylan and the download extractions of Dylan and Bethany's phones be used? And I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe if you go off of Kaylee and Maddie's phones, there is nothing that's outgoing on their phones after 2:52 a.m. So again, all four of these people, I should say no matter, unless you have four people there to do the crime, would all have different technically times of death, but you're not going to be able to pinpoint. We're talking like minutes here. But I think when you're going to be questioning somebody on the stand to say, is it possible that based on your Emmy here report that they were dead at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. And then they have to say yes or no. Well, why or why not? I'm just curious on that because they didn't use their phones as part of the time of crime, and I want to know why. Because that's a big part of it. If their case is on that white Elantra, and if this happened before 329, when it enters into the King Road area, if this crime, he's not there yet. I don't even want to say that white Elantra isn't there yet. If this stabbing happened at 3 o'clock in the morning, the white Elantra isn't there yet. So, and now, why wouldn't you use Ethan and Xana and Maddie and Kaylee's phones to be determining this time of crime? That doesn't make any sense to me. Especially when I just sat and watched 27 days worth of you telling me, Mr. Prosecutor, that Paul and Maggie did not use their phones again after 8:44, 8:49. It's because they were dead. Think about it. She makes a phone call at 2:52, and never. There's not another outgoing outgoing command on her phone. If that in fact is true, I don't know if it's true. Olivia could have just meant there was no more outgoing like texts or phone calls, and that was it. But if you're not going to use her phone, because what you would want to do is use their phones to show that they would still be alive, as long as you could show them being alive. You'd want to use Maddie and Kaylee's phone data for as long as you could to have them be alive. Does that make sense? If Maddie and Kaylee were murdered at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2:54 or 5, okay, that blows up the state's case completely. So I want to know how you're going to be able to explain that. And they're going to say they went to sleep, right? They're going to say they went to sleep. So she makes a phone call at 2:52 and just passes out right then as it's happening and as she's making her phone call. Meanwhile, like, talk about like just shotgunning stuff. There's a reason that they're not using their phones and their data, and that should tell us a lot, in my opinion. And then they don't even say that they used. Now check this out, guys. Ready? Why wouldn't you use Ethan or Xana's phone to push it then to the time that you want, which is this for, it's back in the area, the car's back in the area at 4:04, and it leaves by 4:20, so we have to have it in that time frame. Okay. So, okay. Well, you have it in the PCA that a review of records obtained from a forensic download of Xana's phone showed that this could have also been Xana, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. And the reason now think about this. Explain this to me. DM states she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Kaylee say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." So her statement, DM's statement, is that she thought she heard Kaylee. Now, remember what happened in this case? They played what's his name's Snapchat, and they asked everybody, "Whose voice is that? Whose voice is that?" And everybody said it was Alex's voice. Alex's voice. So here, Dylan's telling you that she thought what she heard like Kaylee's voice. Like, don't you think she's gonna know what her roommates' voices are? I know my roommates' voices. I haven't seen my I haven't lived with my college roommates since college, but I can tell you this, if I was in a room right now and each one of them said something, I'm gonna know exactly who said what. And I'm not gonna be like, oh, that could have been so and so. No, I know my roommates' voices. I do voices. But they want to say that a review of records obtained. Who gives a shit about your review of records? Has nothing to do with what your records of Xana's phone, okay, has nothing to do with what DM just told you. Okay? DM knows her roommates' voices. Okay? You can't sit here and tell me that she doesn't. There's a clear distinction. Y'all have watched their TikTok videos. You know who is who. You hear people's voices. But why was it a big deal that it couldn't have been? Why could it not have been? How about that? Why, with what she's saying, why is it an issue? Why would that even be an issue, though? Think about it. Okay, she's telling you that she heard Kaylee say there's someone here. Because what? Oh, there's an issue with that. There's an issue with that. DM just told you she heard Kaylee's voice, and it would have been around 4, right? But it's Kaylee's voice that says, there's someone here. But why do they need to get off of that and saying, well, a review of the records obtained from a forensic download of Xana's phone showed this could have also been Xana, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. It's because of this. This is what it is. It's because you can't have both Kaylee and Xana alive at that time, because then now you're shrinking it down, because he needs it to be that Kaylee was already murdered right then. Because if you hear Kaylee's voice, you know what I think the issue is? I think the issue is the order of deaths, the order of how people were killed. That's what, the blood transfer. So whoever got stabbed first, if they used the same knife and it wasn't completely clean to some crazy depth, chances are what? The blood of the person that you killed first is going to be on the blood of the person you killed second. And then all 2 of those bloods should be on the person that you killed third. And then all 3 of those should be on the fourth person. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom, says her bedroom, so her bedroom's on the second floor. So anybody that wants to say that she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the south side of the second floor, and then thinking that like when she popped out the first time, that's then she just went downstairs or something. No. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Why is there no reference? Okay, also saying someone's here, there's someone here. How come that couldn't be the DoorDash guy if they rang the door bell? There's someone here. You know when you knock on the door, what's the first thing you say? Oh, someone's here. That's what you say. Oh, there's someone here. You don't witness, you don't see somebody and say, "Oh, there's someone here." You don't see a person in your house and say, "Oh, there's someone here." You hear a doorbell. You hear a knock. And you say, "Oh, there's someone here. Someone's here." But you do not see somebody in your home and say, "There's someone here." You say, "Oh, hey, what's up, Sue, Bob, Joe?" Like, what the fuck, people? Come on. There's someone here. That is letting that is letting somebody else know in your house that there's somebody else, like there's someone here at the door. You don't see somebody. So, uh, so I regardless if it was Kaylee. Now, I do believe. Think about it. If she's saying that it's Kaylee's voice that she heard, because then the other question is how did you hear Kaylee's voice say there's someone here, but not hear anything else? You hear somebody saying there's someone here, but you don't hear 4 people getting murdered? Even if you were saying it because you were looking out the window, you're still saying it because of that. You're not seeing somebody physically in your home to say there's someone here when you see them. That's not what's happening. The point of the matter is that these are at trial. These are the statements. Just we just saw a trial. So Dylan's on the stand. Dylan, you told the officers that you heard Kaylee say something to the effect of there's someone here. Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, so you heard Kaylee's voice. I mean, you could tell your roommate's voice, like, right? I mean, would you do a test and start playing all their voices and say, okay, who's this? Who's this? Who's this? I'd play a voice of the difference of Xana and the difference of Kaylee talking. In fact, go take a look at the body cam I put out there. Listen to when Xana talks to the police officers and listen to when Kaylee talks to the police officers. So again, they're taking Dylan's statements and fitting it how they need to in this PCA, in my opinion. Because immediately Dylan's words saying that why can't it be Kaylee? Why did they need to totally talk about some? Who cares what your phone records show about your extraction of Xana's phone? Because if her phone was that important, then why aren't you using it for the time of crime from 4 to 4:25? It's because Kaylee can't be alive at that time. Who's to say that these people weren't murdered at 6 o'clock in the morning? Who said they weren't murdered at 5, 4, 3? Is it that it couldn't be Kaylee because her phone was never used again? What about these people's steps throughout the day and throughout the night? Everybody knows you when you go and walk to go get whatever, like you're grabbing your phone, you throw it in like your pocket or something. What do you think everybody's steps are going to be like? That was a huge part of the conviction of Alec being convicted. What do you think Snapchat videos these girls and Ethan have? Point being is that if Kaylee and Maddie were killed first before the other two, well, when did that happen if Dylan heard her voice at 4? Because she's supposed to be what? You're supposed to be sleeping? I just want to know why Payne and the rest of the police officers had to make it be that it could not have been Kaylee. They wanted to get Dylan off of the fact that it was Kaylee's voice that she heard. I just want to know why. I think she knows what roommate voice she heard. So if you were on the jury, this is my question in chat. If you were on the jury and found it that if it comes out that Maddie and Kaylee's phones were never used again after 2:52 a.m., would you think that it's because they just had fallen asleep at 2:52? Okay, perfect. People are going to say yes. People are going to say no. Um, so then when I ask this question, which is, so Kaylee just woke up and popped up and said, "There's someone here at 4 o'clock," but she was sleeping since 2:52. Thanks, Brookie. It's all entirely fabricated. I feel unfortunate, right? So think about it. Kaylee goes to sleep. You guys, she never uses her phone again. Oh, it's because she went to sleep. 2:52. Okay, so then at 4 o'clock, when Dylan heard her voice saying there's someone here, not because there was somebody that she was just looking at, okay, because that's just not even normal. That's just not a normal thing to do. Um, so she just pops up out of a dead sleep to say, "There's someone here. Someone's at the door. There's someone here. I heard like the doorbell ring, or looking out the window. There's someone here." There's no outgoing anything on her phone anymore after 2:52 a.m. But yet she pops up at 4 o'clock, and I would hone in on the absolute slam of that to say that that's what she's saying, that there's someone here. And Dylan says that that's at 4 o'clock in the morning. Or did she hear that at 3? Was it 3 o'clock in the morning, Dylan? How do you know that it was at 4 that all this transpired? How does Dylan know that this all happened at 4? Does Dylan's phone indicate that she got up and took 5 steps to the door, came back, took 5 steps back, then she made another 4 steps, because she did it again in 5 minutes. Of course, you're going to know your roommates' voices. Okay. So I heard Kate. First of all, she says, DM stated that she originally went to sleep. DM stated that she was awoken. That she was awoken. Okay. So it couldn't be DM that she's saying that everybody was in their rooms by 4. Okay. So DM was awoken. So she was sleeping and she was woke by this at approximately 4 a.m. Well, where she looked at her phone. That means she had it on her. So you think those steps are there? DM said that she was awoke at 4 by what she stated sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the 3rd floor. A short time later, DM said that she thought she heard what was Kaylee say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." Now, what's a short time later? Short time later, is that 1 minute? Because that is perfect with the DoorDash. Yeah, there's someone here because the doorbell just rang. The door was knocked at. When you're sleeping and it's all dark and somebody pulls in your driveway and the lights shine in and it goes into your room and you can see something like that. I mean, but I don't know when all of this would be going on because Kaylee was asleep at 2:52. But Kaylee just pops up to start playing with her dog. Then she says there's someone here. But then immediately they want us to nope, that it could not have been Kaylee, basically. We looked because they want to talk about the phone records. And they want us to notice that Kaylee's I bet you phone never moved again after 2:52. There's probably no steps with it. Okay. Probably no activity on it. But then here, oh, well, here Xana was up. So it was probably Xana. It could have been a review of the recorded or the records obtained from a forensic download of Xana's phone showed this could also have been her. No, it couldn't have been. Not if it's not her voice. You can't just say because she's up that was her. But why do you need us to think, why can't it be Kaylee's voice? Why can't it be? Why is that problematic? Think about that. Why can it not be Kaylee's voice? They're like, oh God, because you know what I think? I think that DM never once ever said that it was Xana's voice. I think that she's always said that she heard Kaylee's voice. So there's never been this, oh, well, I heard, what I thought was Kaylee's voice, because now you're telling me what? Well, it couldn't have been her because she's dead. I mean, listen to what go with whatever she said. So then think about this. Their own police officers are basically saying that your credible witness here, you went ahead and said, she told you that she thought it was Kaylee. But you're going ahead and take your credible witness now, and you're going to say, no, she's mistaken, and it was Xana? Get the fuck out of here. And if you do that, then if Ann Taylor does not completely shred that to shit, then she's not as good as everyone's making her out to be. But I think she is good. But I just sat and watched a murder trial, and everything was on this digital evidence. There was no physical evidence. There's no physical evidence. It was all digital evidence. Literally, all digital evidence. So why wouldn't we apply, okay, in this case, what's the digital evidence going to tell us? Well, that somehow we know that we were originally going to use, because the white Elantra was back and forth, We couldn't use it any earlier because it wasn't long enough. So this time frame, at least it's from 4. We have it pulling in at 4. Okay, just because you have it pulling in there at 4:04, it's then doing everything that you see on this camera. So you got to knock off that time, and then we're hearing like a thud at 4:17, and it's like, wait, what? If that camera picked up all that stuff, then that camera better have picked up a bunch more of people walking in and out of that place. Touch DNA is shit. So that's not gonna that ain't holding up. That's why do you think that good old Dawn said on her search warrant, do not include that DNA, the touch DNA. There's a reason for that. Yeah, so I think it's really, really interesting that that voice, for whatever reason, and you guys can go ponder it, that voice, they don't want it to be Kaylee's voice. I thought that was very interesting. I think it's also very interesting that they're not using any of the victims' phones for the time of crime. Why? How does that not? That's the whole. That's the whole. Those are the phone records that we used for Maggie and Paul. And guess what? Boom, verdict. Guilty. Guilty. Oh, I know why. Because it doesn't fit. Something does not fit. Something with those 4 victims' phones doesn't fit. I don't know if it's one of them. I don't know if it's all of them. But for you to do a PCA and to write that in this PCA, well, if we just go off of these people's phones and their statements, we can put this time of crime between 4 and 4:25. But guess what? I bet you if you use the other people's phones, something fucks that all up. That's what I think. So, hopefully, Ashley Banfield puts me in her ears today as she's doing her 1 mile to 2 mile walk and exercise. And she's like, man, this girl really brings some really good fodder to my program. Love you, Banfield. Keep it up, girl. I know you just trying. Again, you guys may not think any of this is big or important, but I could tell you if it was, my family member or your family member, and all of the interesting happenings surrounding this whole case, this is the type of stuff that would matter and should matter. Kelly, thanks. That was funny. Please, everyone, listen to the Banfield body cam and enhanced version as well. I'm gonna put some time into that over the next couple of days with the Banfield. I'm also gonna go back. There's some things that I'm looking at with. I want to break more down the timeline from. I want to even push it from the time of when they would have got like. Do we know that all students went to the football game? Did they just tailgate for the football game and then go to a bar? Did they actually go to the football game? I want to push that time of everybody wants to know what happened at 9. Well, I'm curious what happened after the football game was over. The football game would have been over at like 7. They had a 4 p.m. football game that day. WSU had a football game at home that day. So, yeah. Because when I was going through some of the stuff again, they really were focusing in on they wanted to know the direction that people were driving and rides and stuff like that. And I thought that was interesting that you wanna know directional stuff. Um, I think it's because they wanted to go in a certain area to ask people for their surveillance cameras because that's what you're going to do. Like, all right, well, which way did they go? Okay, now we'll go that way, and we'll start asking people to look at their surveillance cameras from this time to this time. You know, they were. I feel like they were looking for a certain kind of car. I think they were looking for that. Um, they were looking for white Elantras. I want to know the white Elantras in the area that were going around that area between 9 and midnight. So, all right, guys, you take care. Thank you for mods being in here. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed the conversation, make yourself known, share it, thumbs it up. If you didn't, you have a voice as well, thumbs it down. But definitely make yourself known. What was everybody doing all day? I know, right? Um, I like the AM convo. Yes, yes. I just have a problem with someone trying to tell somebody that they don't know somebody's voice. That just doesn't. Mm-mm. And what I thought to be, you know, you would know Ethan's voice, you would know Xana's voice. Maybe I'll do a quick little video of all the roommates' voices and then show where Dylan says that she heard Kaylee's voice, but then Payne's gonna tell her that, well, maybe you're mistaken because Xana's phone shows. It's not like she saw that either when he wrote this up. So he's putting his pure conjecture on that. And yeah, it's a probable cause, probability. So um I think they're all I'm so interested in the line of questioning and these answers, like what these cops did when they arrived. Um ugh, I just the line of questioning from top to bottom with everything surrounding it to know what they did, what protocol is versus what they did, things like that. And then how many interviews they had with Bethany, how many interviews did they have with Dylan? Did they ever, you know, what were the areas that they either changed their mind on or they had conflicting stories or um, what time were they interviewed? Were they all just hanging out together for like hours until, were they immediately taken? Were they taken ever to the hospital because, they were visibly, shook and, yeah. All right. Until next, guys. Till next time, be safe, be kind, rewind, run it back. All right. Bye, guys.